or happy almost Thanksgiving or whatever the heck today is. You know, I think I have to go with 4 screens. To go 4x4 or 4x3. It's just a better view. So let's see. This dollar thing is broken. Got put in some oil, see how they're doing. That's short. Oh, 46. Damn it. Why do you have to do this? Style, load style. Why can't it just default to that? So gasoline we like to know about. And natural gas. Not that we've been trading natural gas lately, but you know, just kind of like to keep an eye on it. Nope, that's not it. Style. Style. There you go. And what else do we like to know about? We like to know about, got the dollar up there. Definitely like to know about gold and silver. So we go RB. No, what are we doing with gold? YG. Oh, GC is now what? No. Frick, I forgot what gold is. Gold is it is GC. Why did that say something different? That's gold. Didn't say gold, it said some other thing. Oh well. And silver is still silver. And we have copper. Do you want to put copper here? How about over here? Here's copper, and here's the VIX. There we go. So the VIX is as low as it's been in a long time. We're super bullish, but the VIX has been this low in August and in June, and of course, way back in February. Well, the VIX was permanently low back in these days. It was low for like years. But we have this one on June 2nd and August, we have the VIX this low. And so now we look at the charts. And past performance does not always equal future results, but it is kind of an indication of what's going to give you an idea of what happened when certain situations were the same. So now we look at the S&P. And we say, what happened to you in early June? Had a big sell-off after the VIX was this low. And what happened to you in August? The VIX was super low. We went up a lot. So see, that's the thing. You can't really bet against it. We made new highs on the very low VIX, but then big pullbacks. So now we're making new highs again on the very low VIX. And we'll see what happens. But the two things happening together, this is not likely to sustain, and this is not likely to sustain. The two things that are not likely to sustain are happening at the same time. So it's a little dangerous. And the VIX is really weird because when it rolls over, it can gap up and then it goes back down and gaps up. It's a really whacked out index. So it's very hard to make any definite sort of decisions on it. Oh, that's annoying. Even if my phone is on vibrate, I have a new speakerphone thing. How do I make this go on mute? Well, that's crazy. I'm gonna have to turn Bluetooth off. Sorry about that. Wow, Even way worse than my phone on regular. Bluetooth off. There we go. Hopefully that will not happen again. So where were we? VIX, right? VIX low, market high, all seems great while it's happening, and then all of a sudden the bottom falls out. So we shall see. So what else is going on the charts? So we have oil is racing up. This is typical of Thanksgiving time, but I warned somebody in chat yesterday because I said the most money I ever lost on a trade was betting oil on Thanksgiving night. On a Wednesday night, oil was doing this. Not Wednesday night, it was Wednesday afternoon. I remember it was Wednesday. I left in the morning after the oil report. And the oil report on Wednesday was not a big deal. I didn't think it was a big deal. And it showed a modest draw, but because it was right the day of Thanksgiving, I figured, oh, I'm going to short it. You know, what the hell? Because I'm sure it'll come down for the weekend, after the weekend, because I don't remember what the price was. It was back in the very high price days. But so I bet against it here, you know, wherever the line was. But I bet against it here, and I said, oh, it's going to come back. Even if it goes up a bit, it'll come back down. Didn't think twice about it. Go to the airport, get on a plane, blah, blah, blah. By the time the plane landed, it had gone like I think it was like $5 against me. I think I lost like $50,000 on 10 contracts. I lost not $5. Maybe it was five contracts, 10,000, whatever it was. I lost $50,000 betting oil while I was on the plane ride. So it was the most expensive plane ride I ever took in my life. Because it was, you know, it was a long time ago. I wasn't connected. I couldn't stop out or anything like that. And it just went up and up and up and killed me. So, and of course, after the holidays, it did eventually go back down, but I lost more than I could take. I couldn't take it. 50. You lose $50,000 on a trade. It's like losing a house. It's definitely like losing a car. So, you know, I was basically just as upset as if I had totaled my car without insurance. So anyway, so that's my lesson on not doing that is basically you can't play the futures if you can't sit there and watch it. And that's what I did. I was too cocky. I got on a plane. I said, oh, well, I don't know what could happen. That's what could happen. You can get completely screwed. And so yesterday I told that story to somebody, or I think it was here I told that story to somebody. And now we're way up here. Same thing though. Can't stop it. You have to wait. And the market's open Friday. And maybe you'll miss a peak, maybe you won't miss a peak, but either way, it's not that urgent. We don't have to trade it. And if you don't have to trade it and you're not sure it's the top, there's no reason to trade it. It's very, very tempting. I would love to trade it. It's almost as tempting as a Tesla. Let's say, for example, it's just as tempting as shorting Tesla here. Because at 566, if you go to the Tesla, if you go to sell Tesla calls, oops. I mean, 566, insane valuation. Although somebody just said, one of those analysts just said they can go to 1,000. So you can take that with a lot of grain of salt. But where are the calls? Oh, it's really hard to conceive. I mean, the Tesla calls go way down to like the zeros, basically. So Tesla is now at 567, and the 600 calls are $54. So you can collect $54 from a person who at 567 thinks they're going to be over 600 in January. Your cushion is to 650 basically, and that's $90 away. So it's almost a 20% gain between now and January. And 20% for Tesla is now more GM's entire market cap that they could add between now and January. The problem is there's no reality to the market, though. Just because that's insane doesn't mean it can't happen. This stock is not tethered to reality. It does not operate on the same plane of existence as other car companies. It doesn't operate on the same plane of existence as any other car companies, any company of any kind. This is the idea. I mean, look, it's brilliant marketing. Tesla embodies the idea of having electric cars in the future. And just like the 3D printing company, whose name I forgot now, but that first 3D printing company, the first one that really took off, it was called DDD, still around. What are they called? But they picked themselves a good symbol. 3D Systems, that's right. Okay. Picked themselves a great symbol, and they got the right kind of attention. They became the embodiment of 3D and the promise of 3D printing. Which, look, no doubt, 3D printing is the future. 3D printing, if you're a Star Trek fan, is how they make replicators. Is how a replicator is made. What's a replicator do? A replicator assembles something in 3 dimensions. It's a 3D printer that makes whatever you need. It makes food, it makes clothing, it makes materials, whatever you need is made, because it's theoretically, in theory, it's not real, but I mean, in theory, it's a 3D printer that assembles the molecules in any way you need them. And if you need them to be a steak, they'll make a steak. If you need them to be a cup of coffee, they'll make a cup of coffee. Whatever it is you need, this thing can make it molecule by molecule, including the dishes, right? It makes the cup, and then it makes the coffee inside the cup. It prints it all up. Now, obviously, we're not that sophisticated yet, but in the future, it's just data. It's not impossible. It is just data. And I have a friend of mine who's working on 3D printing houses, which is super cool stuff. We talked about that, I think. But they're using 3D printers now. In other words, you can only make simple things out of a 3D printer. Not good finger control today. All right, that's cool. Look at that. I want that. What is that? Oh, wow. That wouldn't work on me. I'm way too fat. That's really cool. All right, where were we? 3D printing. All right. Oh, geez, I don't know if you guys can see a video.
3D printers.
Oh, wait.
2-story buildings.
Can you guys see a video when I put a video up? Well, just in case you can't. This is a 3D printing head. It's printing cement in the shape of the base of the house. It's doing it like this. And I'm not sure what they do when you're done. I don't know how they get it off. I guess a crane takes it away or something like that. But yeah, conceptually, that's what this does. And let's see if I can get another picture or something else interesting. Oh. Yeah, can you guys see that? Is that like, can you see it when it's a video, or does it mess everything up? Anyway, so hang on. I'm just gonna pause it once in a while when we get to a good picture. Look at that. Look how cool that is. No, forget that one. Where's the one before that? That was so cool. Look at that, cinder blocks. Oh, I know what that is. I've seen that. Wait, it's like a Pez dispenser for cinder blocks. So in other words, like this is this thing is sucking up cinder blocks from these pallets. And because my friends, like I said, my friends into the 3D printing for buildings, so like, I've seen all these things, so they keep showing me cool stuff. So it takes these pallets of cinder blocks, you load them up in the thing. Unfortunately, humans still have to load it. Eventually, the robots will load it, and you won't have to worry about it. But you load them up. They get fed up this arm, and it gets fed down this arm, and it gets to the end, and this is a placing mechanism. So it really works just like a Pez dispenser, though. It spits them out. See that? It spits them out. Incredible. And you're building, I mean, that's how a house is built. You have cinder blocks, and you keep stacking them up and make a foundation. Then you pour the concrete into the cinder blocks. It's fantastic. It's like the greatest thing. It's going to speed up housing and speed up and cheapen housing. This is a huge advance in human history. It's really a great thing. So that's totally cool. Let's see what else they got. Yeah. I don't know what we're looking at here, but oh, I guess they're showing you kind of like, oh, it's stopped. That's why. It'd be nice if they had a date going by, but you see this, I mean, look at this. This is freaking incredible. So there's all sorts of designs, but this is 3D printing right now. But like I said, you know, all this stuff advances. So meanwhile, point being, this is not the point. Point being, here's this company 3D Systems that at one point was considered the greatest thing of all time. They've been around forever. Nobody gave a shit. Then all of a sudden they became a really big fad back in 2010-ish, you know, and they started catching on and everybody started wanting to invest in them. And I told people, no, 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 no. This is not ready, not ready, not ready, not ready. Peaked out. So meanwhile, I'm wrong, of course, because it's going from 25 to 50 to 100. But then it crashed back all the way back down. So, you know, this is a problem with being a fundamentalist, though, is I don't follow these trends because I only look at what something's really worth. And the whole time it was up in the 50s, we actually played it when it was low, but when it got, you know, up to 25, 50-ish range, I was like, screw that, we're done. We walked away from these and never looked back. Didn't want to short it. It's great technology, but the reality of a company like this is we're nowhere near real uses for 3D systems. Meanwhile, what they have is nothing like what's being used for the houses and stuff. There was no serious application for 3D printing. They're starting to be because they're getting better and better at doing little metal stamps and things like that. And they can build, you know, the better molecules that they can build with. These 3D printers started out and still work with mostly plastics because they're easy to manipulate. And it's more like an inkjet 3D. It sprays the plastic and makes the plastic into different molds and stuff. So that's valid because you know the properties of plastic is it starts out wet, it dries very quickly at room temperature, and it solidifies, and that lets you make something that you can build on. So that's fine. But the more important stuff, though, the big 3D printers, the house bit 3D printers, they tend to work with concrete because concrete starts out wet, solidifies at room temperatures. You're limited, though, by the physics of the solidification process. So, you know, you have to think of the real practical applications of things. But meanwhile, what 3D Systems is doing was just basic stuff, and they're still doing the same basic stuff. Yes, of course, they modify and improve. But when I'm going to invest in these companies is when they are able to work with multiple materials, when they're able to do things with, like, you know, you can't, you know, they're not manipulating molecules, they're using plastic. Somebody's going to have to invent something that has better properties than plastic, like metal and things like that, but, you know, like metal die casting, things like that. But you're going to have to invent better stuff and for the 3D printers to operate so that they can build more complex things. It'd be very useful if they could 3D print a car engine. And they do 3D print certain parts of planes and so on and so forth, and medical devices. And they're going to eventually 3D print all your organs will be able to be 3D printed and replaced. All that's great stuff. But to sit there now, picking which company is going to win in Star Trek in 200 years from now, where Star Trek lives, it's silly. Because still the valuation of this company is $1 billion. Okay, Hewlett-Packard would buy them in a second if they thought they had something that Hewlett-Packard couldn't replicate. You know, not to mention Hitachi or anybody else. I mean, it's $1 billion is nothing. You know that. You see mergers all the time. This wouldn't even make the front pages on an M&A sheet. Nobody, to this day, even after they were once priced at $4 or $5 billion, nobody has expressed any interest whatsoever in acquiring these guys. Why? Because there's nothing special about any one of these 3D companies. They sound good, but it's nothing you can't do yourself. Which brings us back to Tesla. Okay, $500 billion. Now, that's over the course of the company's history until very recently, they were $50 billion. Okay, back here, here's $7 to $8. So here in 2013, they were at 10, so 1/50th of, so $10 billion. So here they are, $10 billion company. No auto company, no manufacturing company, no oil company, nobody considered them a good defensive play. And you could say, they're wrong. Look how wrong they were. Yeah, they're just as wrong as the people who didn't buy 3D Systems and then it went flying higher. Okay, it went flying higher, but there was never any sales to justify it. There's never anything to justify it except for it became, I don't want to say a fad, but it became, in the public consciousness, people began believing that they had the goods. But then at a certain point, the big boys come in because Tesla, for all its market cap, only has, Yahoo sucks these days, I gotta tell you. You don't even know if it's gonna work. Nope, see, nothing. Useless freaking thing. Gotta buy Yahoo Premium. There's no selling proposition at all, other than it's annoying that I can't see this chart. This one's free. Macro trends, I like them. Who are we just looking at? Tesla, TSLA. Okay, so balance sheet wise, Tesla's got $6 billion in the bank. $500 billion company, $6 billion in the bank, 10 billion of liabilities, 11 billion of debt, 16 billion, 26 billion, whatever number you want to believe, but basically they got a lot of liabilities. Negative retained earnings. This is not a good company as far as that goes. I mean, all that. Are they making any money? Say, but are they making money? Well, not really. They're making net income minus 862, minus 976, minus 2 billion, minus 600 million, minus 800 billion. So they're constantly selling stock to raise money. They don't actually make any money. I think the last couple of quarters they might have made some money. I imagine their net, here you go, net income. So far, they've made 300 million, 100 million, and 16 million this year. So 400 and something million dollars on a $500 billion market cap. So 1,000 times earnings. I don't want to misrepresent here. Let's see. You said $575 billion. That's a lot of zeros. That's correct. That's correct. $575 billion divided by, let's not shortchange them, 420 million. 420, 123, 123. Oh, 1,369 times. Now, in their defense, there's still another quarter to go. Maybe they'll make $100 billion in this quarter. Maybe. Probably not. So, if you give Tesla $1 of your money, and let's assume it's only 1,000 times earnings, it will take only 1,000 years for them to pay you back at this valuation. And that's why, oh, where'd my chart go? Damn it. I could have sworn we did a chart of them. Nope, screwed up. Okay, and that's why in 2013, 2016, 2008, 17, 18, 19, all the way through, nobody bought Tesla. Why would nobody buy them? Why? Why would you not buy them? If you're Toyota, why would you not want Tesla? If you're GM, why would you not want Tesla? If you're Ford, why would you not want Tesla? Look at them. Look how great they're going to be. Look how fantastic they're going to be. No, they're overpriced bullshit. There's nothing special about it. The cars are nice. The idea is great, but there's no patent. He's not doing anything that anybody can do with an electric car other than promoting it heavily. Ford, Toyota, GM, every other person, not quite ready is what they're saying. They're saying, what do they mean by that? They mean we can't really make them at a profit and sell them to a willing consumer public yet. Why? We don't have the charging infrastructure. And they don't mean we, like we don't have it, but Tesla does. They mean the world doesn't have a charging infrastructure set up. They need a government that's willing to do it. Is Joe Biden that government? Probably. But is that going to be good for Tesla? And that's the assumption here. Joe Biden's good for Tesla because Joe Biden's going to maintain tax credits on electric cars. Joe Biden is going to build infrastructure for electric cars and so on and so forth. Is that good for Tesla? No, it is not. Because it's going to put everybody on an even playing field with Tesla. And it's going to make it so that they are going to have to compete as an auto company, not as a super special stand apart from everybody else electric car company, because every company is going to be an electric car company. So now Tesla has to compete as a car company, and that's a whole different ballgame. That relies on manufacturing expertise. In fact, what did Steve Jobs do? When Steve Jobs was dying, he knew he was dying. He could have appointed anybody on the planet Earth to run Apple. Everybody in the world would have loved that job. Bill Gates would have taken that job. Warren Buffett would have taken that job. Anybody would have taken that job. Barack Obama would have taken that job. Anybody would have taken that job. Who does he appoint? He appoints his operations guy. Tim Cook was the guy who oversaw the production of iPhones and oversaw the production of iPods. And he, to Steve Jobs, the most important thing in the company was being the guy who knew how to get the product made. Not the guy, which is Steve Jobs is the Elon Musk, right? He's the guy. Steve Jobs was the promoter. Steve Jobs was not the builder. Steve Jobs was not the inventor. People think he was, but he wasn't. Steve Jobs, well, he was the idea guy. He'd say, why can't we make a phone that's also a computer and also a music thing and also this and that? It's like, that's Steve Jobs. He's like, why can't we do that? And they're like, well, because it's impossible. He's like, well, make it anyway. That's great. You need people like that. Those people are great. And he happened to have the ability to get it done. Almost bankrupted the company a couple of times, but he got it done. Got everybody to commit to a vision that he would relentlessly promote and push. He's that guy. Elon Musk, I'm going to Mars. I'm making reusable rockets. I'm making these idiotic tubes that people are going to die in, things like that. So he's got the vision. Elon Musk has the vision of crazy shit, but he gets people behind him and he gets it done. God bless him. That's great. Doesn't mean the company's going to make money though. Great vision. Lots of people have great vision, don't make money. That's why Steve Jobs gave the company to Tim Cook, like Willy Wonka, right? He takes him up in the glass elevator and says, it's yours. And Tim Cook was like, what the hell? Because he didn't expect it at all. But the point is that Steve Jobs knew what kind of person he needed to run the company, because of Steve Jobs, the company was full of idea people. Okay, he hired a lot of visionaries, but none of those visionaries were going to be able to run the company. See, he started out with him and Wozniak really just by themselves, but he was the visionary. Wozniak was the creator, was the tech guy. They brought in more tech guys to help in the garage. They didn't need another visionary. They were still running off of his vision. And the company continued to be driven by his vision. And as it grew, though, tech guys you can get. Visionaries are hard to come by. And the more visionaries you try to hire, the more you realize how good ones. But you know, the visionaries you can get, eventually you find enough visionaries, and Apple's got plenty of them. They win design award after design award after design award. But you find a guy who can take an iPhone and every year get better and cheaper than the year before. Well, it's not cheaper, but it's got, you know, obviously they put more stuff in, make it faster, whatever, but they relentlessly push their cost to the absolute lowest it can be, because that's what Tim Cook's skill set is. His skill set is in manufacturing and product line development and getting the most he possibly can out of every single scrap of, you know, every little item and every device in that phone. He is fantastic at that, and that's the culture that you have to push through Apple. And not only that, though, but I think that Tim Cook understands that if the company swings his way and is more and ends up having more of those kind of people, more operations people, more executioners are in the company, I think Tim Cook is the right CEO. Who the next CEO of Apple, Tim Cook, may decide is going to be another visionary. But those are the people who drive a company. And you got to have both. And Tesla, you know, look, Musk, I'm not saying Musk is doing a terrible job. Musk has engineers. He's got some great stuff. But there's not the culture of pushback that Jobs had. Jobs would have wars with his engineers who would be like, this isn't going to happen, this isn't possible, and Jobs would push him, and everybody talk about what a son of a bitch he was and blah, blah, blah. Musk doesn't seem to care as much about the quality of something as Jobs used to, and he'll put out something that doesn't quite work, sort of like talk over it. You know, Jobs wouldn't do that. Jobs would basically be like, this has to work exactly how I want it to work. But anyway, bottom line is there's really not that much difference between Tesla and 3D Systems. They don't have a moat. Okay, there's no moat. There's a huge interest. This is their time to shine. You don't know when it's going to stop. But when it does, and when the sentiment fades and shifts on them, they can very easily go all the way back to where they came from. But to call when this is actually going to happen, to say that Tesla is absolutely going to stop here or here or here, who the hell knows? But it'll stop because you can't just keep growing. You can't grow into 1,000 times valuation. Put it that way. There's a lot of false premises in that valuation. I mean, premise number one with my thing. So premise number one is, here's the company doing 24 billion in sales. Okay, they don't make profit. I mean, this is one of the arguments you hear from these analysts is, well, Tesla's more profitable than a normal car company. Like, no, they're not. We know what car companies make. They make money. They do not. Tesla does not make money, and they've shown absolutely no real way that they make more than any other car company would, which is barely anything. Now, we move on to Toyota, and I like Toyota because Toyota is 10% of the global market. So 10% of the global market is $275 billion. That means the total global market for cars is $2.7 trillion. That seems like a lot. I have to check that. Okay, hang on. Global auto market share. Why is Toyota not mentioned here? That's weird. Oh, Toyota has 10%. Thank you. All right. Aha, I know everything. Where was I? I think I told you that. I love it when my brain works. I'm like, yeah, I knew that number. Okay, so Toyota is 10% of the global market. So therefore, we can assume that the global market is $275 billion. We can't assume they all make the same money. But the bottom line is Toyota, best of the best, really the best of the best, they drop not even 10% to the bottom line. Okay? So Tesla has to grow. They're at 1,000 PE now. They make no money. But forget that. Let's even assume that they can make as much money as Toyota, that they can drop 10% to the bottom line. It's not even 10%. But let's say they can drop 10% to the bottom line. So Toyota, with 275 million is 10%. So therefore, Tesla would have to have 10 times the sales just to get to 100 times earnings. And that's, again, assuming that the sales become profitable and are profitable as much as Toyota, which is the most profitable, because if you look at Ford, I say 7%. Let's see, 155 billion. Well, that's not fair. All right, let's look at this year. 160 billion and 3.6. It's 7%. Okay. So there you go. 156 and 7 is basically 5%. So you're 5 to 6% range. Anyway, so we're going to give Tesla 10%. We're going to pretend that they're more profitable than a regular car company. We're going to say they're more profitable than the best car company, Toyota. So it doesn't matter if they're more profitable, though. How do you get to 10 times sales? How do they get to 100 times earnings as a full size, one of the two biggest car companies on the planet? How do they do that? Well, for starters, you got to sell 10 times more cars. How are they going to sell 10 times more cars? You got to have 10 times more factories. You got to have 10 times more people. There's a certain level of physics that you have to hit. So even if they only build one more factory a year for the next 10 years, no, I'm sorry, it can't be one more. That would only, well, I don't want to see one more factory. Let's say they build, to get to 10 times sales, you have to double, you have to build as much as they built to date. All right, put it that way. As much as they built to date in 10 years of operations, Tesla would have to every single year build that much for 10 years. The entirety of what they've spent to get to where they are now, which is a lot of freaking money, $20 billion, something like that, $40 billion, something, it's a very large number. So let's say $25 billion. So their total income is $25 billion. Their total revenue is $25 billion. They would have to spend their entire year's worth of revenue to double up. One full year of revenue to double up. They would take a $25 billion loss that year to double up. Then they have to justify that with actual sales. Then the next year, and it obviously wouldn't be a year, you're talking about several years to get to that point. Then the next several years, they could do it again. But meanwhile, they'd be constantly spending every cent they have. They'd be constantly taking massive losses. They would be constantly diluting the stock, trying to get investor capital. It's completely unrealistic growth. And why is that? What's happening? Because Tesla is being valued like it's a tech stock. Amazon can... Now, don't forget, Amazon doesn't make money selling stuff. This is very important also. Tech stocks are different. Microsoft's a very different tech stock than Amazon, so I probably shouldn't even say Amazon. Amazon makes their money on cloud. They don't make any money. They're like Costco. Costco makes zero money selling you stuff. Costco makes 100% of their money selling you memberships. Not stuff, memberships. Costco sells your stuff at cost. But they brilliantly came up with the concept of selling you a membership so you can buy stuff at cost. And that's where they make all their money. They make all their money by charging millions of people $100 for a membership. That's their profit. Everything else is basically break even. But break even includes paying for all the stores and paying for the people and so on and so forth. So there's a bottom line profit that comes across. It's wonderful. It's a great plan. But they're not a tech company because there's economies of scale. Amazon, same thing. They're running a break even retail operation, but they've got other stuff. They're selling you Amazon Prime. They're selling you cloud services. They're doing other things to bring in revenue that's making them the profit while having a gigantic user base that they can tap into to sell them stuff that makes actual money. So that's not pure tech. Pure tech is Microsoft. Okay, Microsoft, what do? They create software, which is a one-time creation, and they sell it over and over and over and over again. Also, they do the cloud, of course, but for the most part, they're into a very light amount of manufacturing. They've been terrible at it, right? I mean, most of the stuff they make, the Xbox is an incredible piece of equipment, but their attempt at a phone was a disaster. Their attempt at an MP3 player was a disaster. They've come and gone with their computers. The Surface stuff is so-so. They're really not, you know, they're just not doing good at being Apple. But the point is that these companies, these are the companies that can grow at an astonishing pace. And by the way, Apple can't either, because Apple has to actually physically make stuff. They can't go 10 times and double up every year or anything like that either. But the really pure technology guys, the real pure cloud companies, you already built the cloud infrastructure, and now you just have to fill it up with people who are using it. But you've already got the capacity. Oh, and that, by the way, is Amazon's biggest profitable thing. They already needed the cloud. They invented the cloud effectively to deal with all their data. That's why the cloud exists for Amazon. They built that cloud to hold all their stuff because they've got stuff all over the world. They need massive server capacity, so on and so forth. Google too, right? Google built the cloud for themselves because they needed a place to put all their stuff. There didn't exist any kind of computer system big enough to hold what Google had. So they had to build something, and they built something, but then once they built it, they said, oh, we could double the capacity of this, and then we could sell it. And that's what they did. They sold their excess capacity. So those are scalable things. And the problem is that the analysts who, and probably me talking about this is confusing enough, right, for some people. The analysts who are looking at this thing, they don't understand the difference. They don't understand the difference between things that have to be built and things that can be scaled. If I write Windows 95, I can sell Windows 95. Look how old I am. Well, whatever the hell year this is. If I write Windows 2025, I only have to write it once, and I can sell it to 100 people, 1,000 people, 100,000 people, 100 million people. It makes no difference. And I will just make, and especially these days, because you're not even actually physically selling it on a shelf anymore, right? It's all sold online. So all I have to do is get people to click and subscribe, or in fact, my computer just told me to renew my Office 365, and I have no idea whether I'm being charged twice for it or not now. But I obeyed Microsoft and renewed my subscription to Office 365, which I think it's $99 a year or something. I don't know, something. It didn't seem like a bad deal. But they've got me locked in, paying for every year for their Windows stuff, whether I use it or not. I use it though. That's one I do use. So those are scalable companies. These auto companies though aren't scalable like that. They have to build cars. And building cars means going around to many, many manufacturers of parts and getting all the parts and building factories where you assemble the cars and put them together and sending them out to showrooms and having dealers shop them and so on and so forth. It all requires people and equipment and land and blah, blah, blah. It's like a real business. You can't snap your fingers. Wrong hand, this hand. See, much better on my left hand. You can't snap your fingers and just expect it to double up. So boom, stepping back and simplifying, what's the story here? How can you possibly value Tesla at 1,000 times earnings? They can't get there. Can't. They cannot get from here to there. Not in any conceivable amount of time. Not unless they invent an entirely new thing that brings in incredible amounts of money. But in other words, basically they'd have to have a whole different business. And yeah, of course, they have solar panels, they have their other crap. But SpaceX, by the way, is not part of Tesla. People think it is, but it's not. So Elon, it's a confusion factor. It's like saying Square because Dorsey owns it as part of Twitter. It's not. It's a totally different company. So you can't expect the valuation to be there. And the people buying Tesla at this price are going to get burned if they hold on to it in the long run. In the short run, they could get rich. But in the long run, the value is just not there, and it can't be there. Not unless they basically invent a whole new thing to make money on it. Frankly, if Elon Musk has an idea that good to invent a whole new something that's going to make a fortune, you can see from his past experience that he will almost certainly build a new company. He's not going to do it for the benefit of Tesla shareholders. So I have zero faith that Tesla will ever catch up to Toyota, will ever be worth what these companies are worth, and that it is grossly, grossly overvalued now. All right, does that mean we should all short it? No, it's too dangerous, but it's stupid. And there are other companies like that. This is just a good, egregious example that I can tell you that explains, like, this is where I draw the line when I'm valuing something. Can it actually grow into the valuation? And with Tesla, no, it cannot. Cannot happen. Uh-oh. Pebble Mine Plan. Oh, Matt says Northern Dynasty is down 42% after Pebble Mine Plan is rejected. Uh-oh. That's going to cost my kids some money. Ah! Wow. See, but this is why when we had that surge, we took the money off the table, right? That was our plan, was to take half off the table so that everything left is free, because this is exactly what could happen. So the question is that a long-term thing? Is that going to be a long-term issue, or is it a short-term rejection? Let's see what actually happened. That's nasty. Wow, 42%, 53%. Holy crap. US rejects. Man, what happened? A potentially lethal blow. The mine in Southwest Alaska, which happened to one of the world's largest undeveloped copper and gold deposits, dogged by protests, concentrating. Army Corps issued a record of decision denying Pebble's permit after determining the project is contrary to public. Wow, this guy must be standing up to Trump now that he's out, because they were forcing this thing through before. They demanded a mitigation plan to offset the project's effects on nearby wetlands. Northern Dynasty's Pebble submitted a mitigation plan this month. Details weren't released. Blah, blah, blah. Politically driven decision has taken away the hope that many had for a better life. No, it hasn't. They'll be fine. Companies considering appealing, they're considering it. I'm pretty sure it's definite. Developers may still have a limited opportunity to appeal decision administratively. They can also challenge the rejection in federal court. That's why you buy it, though, because of this. They can appeal. Developers still have an opportunity to do it. They can change it. Any glimmer of hope now, and it's going to pop it back 50% back up. Not all the way, the 50 cents, 34 cents back to 70 cents. So now it's a good deal again to jump back into it. So that'll be interesting. It's a good time to, let it hit the bottom first, but good time to grab some shares for the next bounce. Army Corps of Engineers, based on all available facts, complies with existing laws and regulations, in-depth analysis project, blah, blah, blah. Pebble is now in a remote area of Alaska, drains into British Crystal Bay. Everybody's freaking out about this. If developed, it's the largest producer of copper and gold and molybdenum. And also that we were talking about, I forgot which one of the rare earth elements also is here. Oh, and tellurium also. See, there you go. That's bad. And you know who that's bad for? FSLR. So if I were trading FSLR, I would have sold off on this news. So let's see what happened to that. Let's see. Regardless of the verdict, conservation is pressing the EPA to more definitively kill the mine under the Clean Water Act, but they're not doing that. President Joe Biden has promised to block the project. That's bad. Calling the area no place for a mine. Noticing the government reached the same conclusion when he was vice president. No, not looking good. I would just play for the bounce and then get the hell out. What did I say? FSLR. So, because First Solar depends on tellurium, which is a byproduct of copper mining. Nope, nobody noticed yet. It's going to be bad for them because there's not going to be any bonus sources of tellurium, which is what people thought was going to happen if First Solar, if Northern Dynasty opened up. So let's see, FSLR. Wow, they've been punching up. So that becomes an interesting short now. So look at that and say, does First Solar make enough money to cover their values? FSLR. Randy says, I'm sure your girls won't mind because Trump lost. It's like, yep, well worth it. If that's what it costs to get Trump out there, I'm sure they're fine with that. It's still annoying. What a hit. So First Solar, again, not growing. People, here's the thing: people are giving them crazy valuation. 3 billion, 3 billion, 4 billion, 3 billion, 3 billion, 2 billion, 3 billion. So we figure they're good for 3 billion a year. They can't grow. This is their problem, though. They've always been at this level. They can't grow because their system of making solar panels, their model of business is to make low-cost solar panels that are very efficient or relatively efficient for the price. How do they do that? They sprinkle them with fluorine oxide. Fluorine oxide is almost like cheating. Okay, it's like saying these are no-calorie cookies, but you sprinkle some sugar on them to make them taste good. And it's like, well, now they're not no calories. Like, well, the cookie's got no calories. The sugar has some calories, but not the cookie. In this case, they're using something that is so rare that it's not considered practical by scientists. Now, it's if gold somehow made something taste better and you poured gold on it, that you'd say, okay, yes, this is a great secret ingredient, but it's not practical. You're never going to make money doing it in any kind of mass scale. In the case of Northern Dynasty, it does. It's the fact. It's not that you can't afford to put the tellurium to put it on the panels that they do it the way they do it. But the problem is there's no way to scale it up. There's only so much tellurium in the world, and they're using a large portion of it right now. And tellurium is important for other kinds of research. This company alone has quadrupled the price of tellurium in the world. They're sucking up this very rare element from a lot of other vital uses that it has. And the problem is you can't make more. Even if you want to, you can't make more because to make more requires massive amounts of copper mining. And if you're not going to do the massive amounts of copper mining, your tellurium demand is never going to drive the amount of copper mining that's required because, 1 part per billion kind of thing. So if you want a gram of tellurium, you need to mine tons and tons of copper. So if FSLR says we need more tellurium, you're saying, well, who's going to use the copper? What's going to happen to all this copper you have to mine to do it? It's just going to sit in warehouses, and you can't pay enough money because let's say a gram of tellurium is $100 million, and if it probably isn't, probably $1 million, $500,000, whatever it is, doesn't matter. but let's say it's $1 million a gram for tellurium. Well, that's fine, but you still have to mine hundreds of thousands or millions of what do you call it? Millions of pounds of copper at $3 a pound. You're going to throw it off immediately, right? You can't afford that. You can't cause hundreds of millions of dollars of copper mining because you want $1 million of tellurium. Doesn't work that way. You know, it's like if you say, well, I really like the cigarette lighter in a Mercedes, so I won't get me one of those. It's like, no, that's not how they work. You have to buy the Mercedes. You can't just take the cigarette lighter from the Mercedes. So that's what they're doing, though. They're using the cigarette lighter from the Mercedes to make their panels efficient. So they have limited growth, limited prospects, and again, ridiculous because their profitability and their pricing and all that is based on nonsense. And again, you've got a highly overvalued company. And by the way, this is important though, because what we're talking about is stuff that goes into making a short list. $9–10 billion valuation for a company with $3 billion in sales. So, you know, and again, now, who is a profitable? Oh, here you go. Let's look at a profitable solar company. SPWR. So here's SunPower. Well, they're actually not profitable, are they? But SunPower can and can't make money, but sometimes they do, sometimes they don't, depending on what their spending cycle is. They're coming into a virtuous cycle, so they should move forward a bit. But they've got a couple of billion in sales, also not growing. The whole solar industry is not growing that much. Profit's not there either. But let's say best case scenario, maybe 10% to the bottom line here, 10% here. And if we go back to First Solar, their best case scenario is 10% to the bottom line, more than 10% to the bottom line. For whatever reason, 15% to the bottom line this year. So best case scenario, 15–20% to the bottom line. Let's call it 20, all right? So to justify a $10 billion valuation, they need to make $500 million. To make $500 million, sales have to be $10 billion. See, it's just math, right? So how is sales of First Solar going to get to 10 billion? They're not. There's not enough tellurium in the world for them to have the sales. So they would have to. So when do the fundamentals change for First Solar? When they start coming up with panels that do what they want them to do without using such a rare element. And if they can do that, that can change their value proposition. But they can't. They can't scale. Elon Musk can't scale. Physically impossible to make 10 times more cars. Without not ever, but in any reasonable amount of time of a decade, 2 decades, he can't do it. He can't make 10 times more cars. Obviously, you can make them. Toyota makes 10 times more cars, but they've been doing it for 100 years. You know, so you know you're not going to just suddenly snap your fingers and get to the right valuation. So therefore, the valuation is unreasonable. Same thing with these guys. They cannot, in any reasonable amount of time, triple their revenues. Can't happen. Therefore, grossly overvalued. These are the kind of things we're looking for in a market that we feel should be more shorted than long. We need to look for companies like this and say, who is grossly overvalued? Who should be on our short list, not our buy list, our short list. So we are going to start looking for more and more of these kind of companies. We're going to start saying, what do we do when the market collapses? How are we going to make our money? If the market collapses. But even if it doesn't, I still feel good about shorting these companies that have ridiculously high valuations. Bernie says the Generation 6 product may not be using tellurium. See, there you go. That's what they need to do. They know that. So if that's true, and if they can get away from the tellurium, that's where they have a chance to actually grow the company. But will that be true? Will they manage to do it? Will it be just as efficient? Will they make as much money? I don't know. It's a lot of questions. You can buy NAK for 36. Matt says you can buy NAK for 36 and sell the 2023 50-cent call for 30 cents, or do you think they go bankrupt? Look, I'm not bullish. I'm going to actually get out on the bounce. If they can bounce from 36 back to 60, 70, that's the profit for my kids. Whatever we take off the table is their profit. It's over. I thought that they would be able to slip in an approval under Trump, but now if they're getting rejected under Trump now, Biden's administration is going to turn this around. It's just not going to happen. Whatever happened, I think Trump losing the election has led him not to give a crap about supporting these guys, or maybe they pissed him off somehow. Who knows? Or maybe the Army Corps of Engineers, who were buckling under to Trump's wishes, now that he's got no power, are like, screw you, asshole. We're going to abide by the actual law, which says these guys can't, which says you can't just kill all the salmon in a critical part of the bay, which is all the salmon. You're really killing most of the salmon in Alaska, in order to mine some gold, which we don't need. We don't need it. We don't need the tellurium. Only First Solar needs the tellurium. We don't need the gold. We need the moly, but we can get it somewhere else. We can get some other country to kill their wildlife. We don't have to do it. And the bottom line is that people in Alaska don't really want it. The majority of people there don't want it. They have jobs. They don't need this job. Just because you're going to create jobs doesn't mean people should have it. If you work at a sewage plant, if you open a new sewage plant, you go, oh, we're going to create jobs. People are like, I don't want that job. You need to create jobs people are really into. So let's see. Well, this is a bad time to check, but Alaska unemployment rate. 6%. See? So their unemployment rate is actually better than the rest of America. So they don't have an unemployment issue. They're not desperate for jobs. They don't give a crap whether you open your mine or not. Somebody could open an amusement park on the property and there'd be just as many jobs created. So you're not solving any problems with this thing. All you're doing is killing fish. you're making the NAK people rich and you're killing fish. But no, this is not good. I'm surprised it's dropped off so harshly. I did not think that this would happen this quickly, but it did, and we got caught with it. Wow. Wow. I mean, that's a one-day shot. That's crazy. That's 2 days. They were drifting along, and things were okay, and I was kind of hoping they would swing back over $1 or something like that, but boom. All right, excuse me, I have to call my daughters and tell them to check out of their dorms. Guess what happened to you guys today? Oh my God. Damn, that's terrible, right? One little decision. How's the market looking? A little downturn here. Oh, Tesla. What's Dow doing? No, DJI. Smart. There we go. Nothing too exciting there. So yeah, I mean, tempting as it is to short oil, the market closed tomorrow and all that. This is safer. Shorting natural gas at $3. That's a safer play. But again, I just into the holiday, just don't do it. I wouldn't touch it. We just got to be patient. And this morning we were talking about treasuries and stuff with my futures. Not that, not that. There they are. We're talking about the bond yields. You know, I mean, historically, this is insane. And so I expect them to calm back down. We were talking about shorting the TLT and stuff because it did, you know, on a historical basis, this is way out of control. See how long range this chart looks. Finally goes back to, oh, excuse me, goes back to 2002, but look at 2008. So we're miles over that. That was the last financial crisis, and that's where we were. Now we're way up here. There's just nowhere to go but down. There really isn't. I think we're going to suffer for that eventually. All right, well, I don't have much longer, so I'll see if there's any questions, and I'm going to wrap it up very shortly. Mike says, Mitchell says, be the house, not the gambler, but a little gambling is fine for NAK. Yeah, well, you know, like I said, though, I mean, we played it right because this is the second time we got a big pop at NAK. We took this money at 250, which was very smart. We took it when it popped up to 250. We took that off the table. That left us with half. I think I don't remember we cashed out completely or whatever. I know my kids still had some, but we had cut down drastically by the time we got down here. We cashed out more than half here, and it's a massive profit. And then we came back to here. I think we lightened up again. Then it came back down to here, and we started buying. That's when I put the big buy on. Then it went back up, and we cashed out half. And so, you know, we've cashed out half here, and now we'll be probably doubling down because we have a basis. Well, our basis is 0, but I'm not going to cash out here. I'm going to take money here. Let's say 40 cents, whatever. We're going to add at 40 cents, and then if it gets to 50, 60 cents, we're going to put a stop at 50. Cash out half at 60, and have definite profit moving forward. That's it. And if there's a miracle, there's a miracle. This, of course, you know, obviously, if you get another drop like this, you're not going to be able to stop out and take a profit, but the risk isn't that much, and especially given it's been profitable. Would I feature it again like I did back in August? No, because now I don't believe in it. I think the best we're going to do is get a little bounce back when there's an appeal and a challenge and so on and so forth, but I don't think it's going to make a difference. I don't think they're going to win, and I don't see how they're going to get any support in the government. Not under Biden, not with Democrats basically in charge. I don't see how it's going to fly. So they have to crawl back into their shells for 4 years, lick their wounds, and hope another Republican comes in who's just as crazy as Trump is. Freaking hope not. You really hope not. All right. So what else is up in the world? No, not much really. Other than that, it's pretty boring. What else do we talk about today? I can't believe. Look, I'll tell you what I can talk about. I don't even want to. You notice I'm the virus, but we'll see where we are. Let's see where we are going to Thanksgiving. I'm not even worried about what I don't want to get into like the changes. 60 million. Jesus Christ. So it was 5 something. So last week 5, now it's 65 million more people in a week. Great. 12.6 million people in the US. And we have no comparison. So let's just say it's a horrible number. 260,000 dead people. 1.4 million global deaths. Still terrible. No question about it. Still very, very, very bad. You know, we are hoping that something's going to be done about it. We really, really hope that something is going to be done. So far, not enough. Not enough here, not enough here, not enough here, not enough here, here, here. And by the way, when I look at this, I see, yeah, look, America, India, Brazil, France, Russia, Spain, over there, UK, whoops, I'm keeping my eyes on the thing, I'm not that stupid. And then Italy is back down here, Argentina, Colombia, Mexico, Germany, Peru, Poland. You know, we got some problems. Where do we have problems? The planet Earth. We've covered all the bases. Okay? The planet Earth still has a tremendous, horrible, deadly problem. And then there's global warming too. So, let's all be thankful for what we do have over the weekend. Let's honor and cherish our families if we can be with them or not. And just geez, I mean, it'll be nice to get rid of this year. It's got a month and a week left in this whole year. And I spent my birthday in quarantine, right? Because my birthday was March 29th. We were already locked down on March 29th. And this is 9 months later. 8 months later right now. It's gonna be it's gonna be 9 months of this. Can't imagine how people get through prison. I really can't. I mean, I'm sitting here, I'm in my house mostly, I go out once a week to a restaurant, and that's because I'm in Florida and nobody gives a shit. I don't go shopping anymore. I decided that's too much risk. I don't want to give up my restaurants because it just makes you feel human to go out and eat food. And I try to be careful and go to outdoor places and such, but I just can't do nothing. And that's the thing though, if you're in prison, you do nothing. You're not sitting on the couch playing Call of Duty, which I love, by the way. It's my new favorite. So you're not like playing, you're not sitting on the couch killing people and well, if you're a prisoner, who knows what you're doing. But you're not playing video games, you're not working, you don't get a chance to do deals and things. I mean, I'm occupying myself constantly. But to just physically be not able to leave the house and to not go anywhere and do things, it drives you crazy. I can't imagine how people go through that in prison with nothing to do, nothing inside, no activity and whatever. It's just crazy. I don't see how it's a really good way to. I mean, obviously it's a punishment, but years and years and years of it just seems like wow. I think just on the whole, you should be a lot more sure that you're locking up the right people. I think maybe that's it, because I see these people who get let out and they didn't actually do it. And I can't even imagine how do you even deal with that? How can you sit there and not be guilty? You know you're not guilty. You know you didn't do the thing they locked you up for. Yet you're locked up, like we're locked up right now. And we don't as a society take that as a priority to fix, that we unjustly lock people up, but it's too complicated to fix it, so we don't. I mean, that's just really, really sick. But then we do the same thing with people who are locked in poverty, right? It's too big of a problem, so we don't deal with it. This virus is too big of a problem, so we don't deal with it. We would rather just die than do the hard work involved in fixing the problem. It's easier to die. And we won't all die. That's why it works. As long as we don't all die, take my chances. Otherwise, because for sure you would have to start following a lot more protocols, wearing masks everywhere for sure, only going to places that are certified clean. Things would be shut down on you. Your business would be shut down. Money would have to be spent for ventilation systems. I just read an article saying the number one thing they can do to fix things in most public places is have better ventilation. You need to suck the germs out of the room, filter them, and put them and not not expel them outside. Obviously, just filter them out through your air systems. It's not a big deal. It's not a lot of money, but it's millions and millions of businesses would have to spend this money, and office buildings and landlords and people who have lobbyists would have to spend this money rather than take a chance. And that's one of the reasons they push so hard to get the vaccine in, because by saying there's a vaccine, all these businesses can say, this isn't over. For us to spend $100 million to retrofit our building just to keep it safe when the end is near for the virus. So why should we have to do that? Don't pass a law requiring us to do that. Don't pass a law requiring all the landlords to fix the ventilation units for their tenants to make their homes safer, or their businesses safer, or whatever. Don't make us do that. Don't make us make something safe, even though it would have the lasting benefit of preventing future outbreaks, even though it would lessen the amount of colds and flu and everything else that's transmitted, because that's one of the reasons we all get sick every winter, the ventilation system. That's why every time I go on a trip, that's when I know I'm going to get the flu. It's like every winter when I go on a trip, I know I'm going to get the flu. When I went to freaking Thailand last year, I got sick. I got sick on that trip too. I was worried about getting this flu, COVID, because last year I had to go to Thailand. I was worried about getting COVID. Didn't get COVID, but did get the regular flu, because that's what happens when you get on a freaking plane with 200 people. That's when you get it. When you're at the airport lounge with hundreds of people, when you're at the plane, that's when you get the stupid sickness. Because it's not, the air is in a little tube and you're breathing everybody's air. Ventilation is key. But creating a ventilation system is not cheap. And so they would rather argue that in other words, rather than passing this one benefit that would have many ramifications of public health, would improve the quality of life for all people, but it causes the corporate people to spend more money and it impacts their bottom line. So we're not going to do that. Instead, we're going to risk, for a fact, people will die. More people will die because we don't pass rules to improve ventilation systems than if they did pass the rules. We're choosing money over life, as we very often do. And to some extent you have to. You can't make a car so safe that nobody dies. So once you say, okay, it's impractical for everyone to ride around in a Sherman tank and play bumper tanks, as much fun as that would be, right? But it's like, we could all drive tanks up and down the street and never get injured in an accident, or get whiplash, I guess. But you could do something like that. There's a level of safety that you have to say, okay, I'm willing to accept this many deaths. There is a number. There has to be a number. Either your number is 0, which is impossible, or there's a number. And if there's a number, you have to start making trade-offs, and then you arrive at the proper number of people who it's okay to die in an accident, in order that the rest of the people can drive cars they can afford. That's just real. That's what happens. Same thing here. Same thing with the virus. Same thing with climate change. There has to be numbers. With climate change, we are going to have to say, okay, well, there's a limit to what we're going to be able to do to stop it now. And every year it gets worse. But even right now, you're going to have to make a choice, and they have to say, well, okay, if we all start living like hippies in the commune and have no, generate our, make our own everything and live off the land and whatever. If we all live like Native Americans, frankly, whatever. If we all live off the land and we all stop all this electronic stuff and we give up our TVs and give up this, give up that, blah, 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 then maybe we could stop climate change. Maybe. Don't even know for sure. And we would never find out because we'd have to stop science. So we wouldn't be able to use the electricity for the scientists. So we'd never really find out if it worked or not. So there's that extreme. And then there's, and obviously if we don't stop doing stuff, if we don't pull back, then we all die. So somewhere between that and living off the land, there's going to be a trade-off, right? And we're going to have to decide as a society. And that's why you got to get rid of Trump. And that's why you got to have people like Biden in charge, because you've got to really sit down and make these very, very hard decisions about who's going to live, who's going to die, which countries are going to become uninhabitable. And where are we going to draw the line? There are countries that are going to go underwater. There are populations that will not be able to eat. You know, you think immigration's bad now, wait till everybody from the equator has to move. Because it'll be 120, 140 degrees in the summer at the equator. That's all these guys. This band of people over here. They all have to leave. See this, and that's unfortunate. That's these guys. Got to move. Find another country. Does anybody want them? Who wants them? Who wants all these people? So they all have to move here, and they all have to move here, and we're not going to be much better. We're going to have to move here. Who wins? This is by the way, this is one of the things people are. Who wins global warming? Canada, Russia become much nicer places. Greenland, yeah, except for most of it melts. It won't be so big. But you got Canada, you got Russia. They're going to do very well. This will be Antarctica's mostly gone. There'll be some kind of land mass there, but there'll be something left. But you know, these northern countries that are too cold generally now are going to become paradise. So it'll be a different world, just like you've seen those images of the world when it was like all squished together and everything. It'll be a different world, and we'll have to migrate. Humans in general will have to migrate. But what's going to happen in Canada? What's their immigration policy going to be? What's Russia's immigration policy going to be? And it's not really long-term stuff. This is in the next 50 years. This is real stuff. This is stuff our kids have to deal with. We blew it. We didn't listen to Al Gore, 20-something years ago. We failed to listen. We put Bush in because he was more fun. Al Gore was not fun. Al Gore was a nag. He was a scold. He was telling us that we had to change our evil ways, and Bush was telling us we had to drink more beer. And we chose Bush, and we chose Trump. And those end up being potentially fatal mistakes for the planet. And we'll see what happens. But meanwhile, not to talk about that. Let's talk about what is good. We've got a vaccine. We're going to get through this virus thing. It will stop. Realistically, distribution and all that, I'd say by late spring, early summer, pretty much everybody should be vaccinated. Or other than the people who resist and other than certain parts of the world, there'll be problems getting everyone vaccinated, but we'll eventually get everybody vaccinated. And that's great. And then we can start getting back to normal, hopefully. Hopefully, if it works, assuming it lasts, so on and so forth, we start getting back to a pretty normal life. And I mean, that's something to be thankful for. I just can't believe we're going to have to do this for another 3-4 months. We're still going to have to live like this. But at least this year's ending, and next year won't end the way this year ended. So let's be thankful for that, and let's be thankful for each other. So everybody have a very good holiday. And next week I'm going to be, I won't be on Wednesday though. So we'll do a regular webcast next week. I'm going to be on BNN on a Money Talk on Wednesday night, but we're taping it, I believe, Tuesday. It's Tuesday the 8th. And we're going to do our trade of the year. Oh, no, it's not next week. Holy cow. 2 weeks. All right, so next week's just a normal Wednesday. No, 2 weeks. On the 8th, I tape. On the 9th, I got the show actually airs. Wow. Okay, I thought that was way sooner. Anyway, all right, thanks, guys. Have a great Thanksgiving. Enjoy your weekend. Enjoy your families. And we'll do it again next week. Take care.